Hey everybody, and welcome back to Let's Roleplay Read Day of the Pony Dead, Part 2. We're recording immediately after Part 1, which is why my voice is still kind of fucked up, and why we still have G-Money playing G-Money, Time Knight playing Time Knight, and Winter playing Zombie, and everyone playing a bunch of randos.
Yay!
Woo! Promise you that the next recording, I will be better and not sounding like a hoarse, weird old person.
That reminds me,
Promise.
I think some more.
Maybe.
Does anybody new show up? We didn't figure that out.
I don't believe so. I think another person will show up eventually.
We'll have someone do it.
It does not look like in this.
Yeah, like for now we've cast everyone who is active right at the beginning.
All right, my bad. Derailing.
Alrighty then.
All right. And
Okay, this one. Time Night. And here I thought nobody took chain emails seriously, mused Brandon. But on the bright side, at least Dr. G has found a temporary fix to one of our most pressing problems. Brandon smiled as he watched Derpy making idle chit-chat with the other ponies. Sometimes he wondered if Derpy even knew that anything was wrong. He dreaded that what might happen when the gravity of the situation finally hit her.
Johnny, with the arrival of... What?
I was just remarking, like, even Derpy is written significantly differently.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, she was actually.
I made her a lot more serious lately.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. Derpy initially was very slapstick.
Yeah, very comic relief. But that changes. Anyway.
Alright. Johnny, with the arrival of Dr. G and Rarity and their introductions, Johnny approached them to see if they had any medical supplies they could spare. They generously gave him a first aid kit. After Fluttershy was fixed up, Johnny spent the most of his idle time studying pairs. No, that was right. And learning their names. In watching quarrels come up and watching Fluttershy get along with her friends. Johnny had remembered a town he'd seen some time ago. It couldn't be more than maybe 5-10 miles away, and it seemed untouched as far as he could remember. But that seeming... Why is there a quotation?
Where?
I don't know.
That seemed like...
But that seemed a long walk there and back. I doubt a Pegasus could carry that much at a time unless somebody was here.
Oh.
Unless somebody here was a mechanic.
It's a thought. That's what it is.
Yeah, he's thinking out loud.
We didn't figure out the thoughts until later on.
Okay.
Yeah.
Johnny looked around the room and he spotted Sam, Luke, Brandon near one of the corners. Johnny went to ask if anyone was a mechanic when he was interrupted by the swinging door and a shotgun pointing inside. He pulled out his Glock 17 and pointed it at the door, and out of his peripheral, he could see several other guns pointing at the door.
Time Night. When Johnny approached Brandon about finding more efficient way to carry their supplies, he was happy to help. I'm no professional mechanic, but I do a bit of tinkering and repairs in my spare time. Also, I saw an abandoned cart in a ditch short walk from the cabin. It could use some oil and a new wheel but I think it could serve our purposes once it's fixed. Oh yeah, I was Travis. After nearly dropping his shotgun when he saw all the gunmen inside, Travis exclaimed that he was friendly. After getting it through getting caught up to speed on what's going on, Travis decided to let Applejack catch up with her friends. While he went and mingled, he overheard a conversation between Johnny and Brandon. If you're looking for a way to get around. This town, not that far from here, has a auto repair shop. I'm sure you could find or make something in there. Time night. Huh, perfect! Exclaimed Brandon. Travis, Johnny, and whoever else wants to come can help me get the cart and out of the ditch and take it to the auto shop where I can fix it up. While I'm there, I can pick up some spare parts. Alright. Brandon strapped on his tool belt and swung his bag over his shoulder. Derpy, grab your things. We need to reach that cart before sundown.
G-Money. Well, I'm glad that's settled, Dr. G said, turning back to the task at hand. He carefully shaved Colgate's left forehoof and inserted the IV needle. He taped it down and hung the IV bag over the couch on a nail. Super safe. He opened up the line and let the fluid flow into Colgate. All under Mac's careful watch. Alright, time to make some medicine, Dr. G said, entering the kitchen. He found a mortar and pulverized the willow bark into a fine powder, which he mixed with some gin and some water. He carefully then poured the mixture into a nearby water bottle and returned to Colgate. She seemed a little better. He sat down next to Colgate and addressed the room. I need to stay here and monitor Colgate while I'm here. I will also see what else we can use from medical supplies. Anyone who wants to help is more than welcome to. He turned to the group by the door. As for those who are leaving, Johnny's first aid kit has enough supplies to get you back here with an injury. Good luck and come back before dark. That's your best and safest bet right now.
Duhad. Mac sat down next to Doc. I'm gonna stay here with you. I think we should check around and maybe set up some place a bit bigger till Colgate is recovered enough to tell us what she knows. But for the time being, we can try and get everyone accommodated. He looks to the away party and adds, a fair warning though, if you are out there and you see some folks in camo and carrying hunting gear, keep your heads down. I had a bit of trouble with them over the last few days, and they have enough ammo that they are willing to waste a bit of it on... Sorry, I repeat that. I've had a bit of trouble with them over the last few days, and they have enough ammo that they're willing to waste a bit of it, if you know what I mean. He shakes his head. Anyone else who wants to make themselves useful can go back and take a look around. We have made enough noise now that I'm sure we will be seeing at least a few rotters soon enough. Frankly, I'd rather just take them out as they come near rather than wait till then wait to get grabbed next time I walk out the door.
Some guy. Quaid looked around the room at the various people wielding guns. His longsword was seeming less and less useful. I can go help with the cart, but first I feel we should gather together and discuss what we have and our skills. Does everyone else agree? Quaid said, addressing everyone in the cabin, and perhaps what we know about the surrounding area. Twilight nodded, approving of getting a full plan, also stating why it would be the best case of action.
If we have a legitimate plan, we can put everyone in a proper position for survival, and also can also have minimal casualties. I'll need a bit of advice from some people, considering I know next to nothing about zombies, Quaid said with a sheepish grin. So, we've got almost all the elements of harmony, but does anyone know if Pinky managed to survive? Twilight said. Oh, that was Twilight. Looking worried at the party ponies, worried for the party pony's life as the weight of the realization sunk in.
Dun dun dun.
Bum bum. Winter, why didn't you play zombie this time?
Alright. This zombie cam. Cameron slowly climbed down a tree. What were they doing in there? He asked, not really expecting a response, but got one anyway. I don't know, but I recognize some of them, Octavia said. One of the first to go in was Fluttershy. She had a breakdown at the gala and scared some animals into the main hall. Check to see what they are due. He was cut off as a man and an orange pony came into view. They talked, and the pony looked into the window, then proceeding to kick the door down. Oh! Cameron and Octavia exchanged a bewildered glance. They looked back at the man who was standing, pointing his gun into the cabin. He talked for a little while before putting his gun away and walking in. Let's see if there is a fuss in the cab. Oh, this is Octavia. Let's just go see what the fuss in the cabin is about, Octavia said, exasperated as she began to slowly walk towards the cabin.
Is the what the fuss about this cabin is.
Okay.
Right.
Reading.
Rose.
Rose is me. Rose. Rose had been sitting in the corner, silently watching the group after group entered. She wasn't the best at talking. Plus, she didn't know how many people she could trust. They seemed fine for now, but you never know. Most everyone has some pretty good weapons, and things can go a bit sour with a big group like this. Rose only had a kitchen knife to protect herself. She thought it was best to stay unnoticed. All the other people were asking the questions for her anyway. Rainbow Dash, on the other hand, was extremely happy. Most of her friends were showing up. She missed them all so much. But of course, since she was the Rainbow Dash, admitting it was a whole other story. She began to brag to the others about saying, like, oh, you killed one of those things, whatever. I fought one of them with my bare hooves. It was nothing. The real challenge is when I took a whole group of them. Rainbow was enjoying talking, but she got a little worried when Twilight mentioned Pinky not being there. Okay, more like very worried. Extremely worried. But she would never admit to that. She was Rainbow Dash, the bravest of the ponies. One of the other people said everyone should state their skills and how much they knew. No, knew. I was right. Rose was reluctant. What if she gave out too much information? Who was she kidding? She wasn't this cool emo kid sitting in the corner, being all suspicious of everyone. She was a dork afraid of what others might say. She would have to speak up eventually. Rose stepped forward towards the person who addressed everyone. She hadn't heard his name before, and so she was clueless as to what it was. I agree. Well, I'm good with my kitchen knife, I guess. I'm not sure if that's helpful in any way, but I'm an artist. That's about it. Well, except I'm not bad with an axe. Sorry if you hear dogs.
No, we don't. It's okay.
Okay. They're going crazy. I guess I'm sorry. I'll just go back and sit in the corner now, alone, being useless. Rose's cheeks turned redder and redder with every and She stumbled over her words and slowly began to back into the corner again. Who was she kidding? How was aren't useful in apocalypse motivation, Rose sighed. She only said she was good with an axe because she needs some kind of redeeming quality, and she was okay with an axe. When it came down to it, Rose was one of those fighters who go all out with a small knife, not the most useful.
I miss Rose.
Uh,
Alright, who's Atlas?
I was. Luke in shining armor followed their plan. He's right. This place is a bit cramped, and we did make a lot of noise out here. Me and Shining are gonna head out, take a better look around. If anyone wants to follow us, meet us just outside. And thanks, Mac, for letting us stay here and not shooting at us like some other people. Luke motioned for Shining to leave Twilight's side. He did so reluctantly and met Luke outside. Just between you and me, all the ponies in here are crazy. I say we get out of here before they shoot us for supplies or something. What? No, my sister's in here, man. Then we grab your sis and get out. No, we stay here. We've only seen her for a few minutes. And I almost got shot, too. Just wait. Shining armor poked Luke in the chest. Fine, but if one of them loses it, we're out of here. Luke slung his rifle behind him and leaned on the cabin. Shining armor had a bit of a smile on his face. His sister was safe for now. He would make sure of that. Any of you all coming? They won't shoot themselves out here. Luke called through the cabin door. Well, wrong accent for a second, but
That's right. Time Knight?
Brando. Did we lose him?
Time Knight?
Snake.
Snake?
Hold on. Dang it.
Snake is
It's
back.
your line, as in
Oh,
it's literally
dang
your
it.
line.
I thought that something had happened. Okay, hold on. God dang it. I lost my spot because I was trying to get back connected to the call.
Oh dear.
Okay, I'll be right there in a sec.
Time Knight post message 42.
Ah, here it is. Alright, last call for those coming to retrieve the cart with me. Called Brandon. Derpy, you ready? Derpy seemed lost in thought for a moment before she responded. Ready when you are. She quickly stuffing something shiny back into her saddle bag. Brandon turned to Mac. Mac, before we go, is there anything else we need to know about those camo guys?
G money. Well, I'm a veterinarian, and the new resident doctor / medic, Dr. G said to Quaid. He then turned back to Mac. I do think we should try to accommodate everyone for the time being. Isn't there a cabin like 10 feet away from us, so we'd probably make a good second base? Although, it was all boarded up when I last saw it, Dr. G asked. Meanwhile, Rarity, talking to Fluttershy, asks, How's your wing? Fluttershy squeaked a quiet reply of, Fine. Here, darling, let me see it. I remember Twilight teaching me a useful healing spell. Hold still. Rarity carefully pointed her horn to Fluttershy's wing and concentrated. All of a sudden, Fluttershy's wings were covered in a deep purple aura, and the bandages fell off, revealing Fluttershy's wing completely healed. There you go, darling. That should feel so much better. Dr. G watched, impressed. Wow, that's incredibly useful, Rarity. She smiled regally. Dr. G looked at Colvate's IV. We have about 2 to 3 hours before she will be hydrated enough to wake up, and then we can give her this tonic. I'm sure glad we missed out on those bandits. They seemed like some bad news. Dr. G looked at Rarity, as she seemed worried when Twilight mentioned Pinkie Pie. I wonder if she's alright, he thought.
And here we are introduced to Rarity's magical healing beam.
Which
They'll
will
be
save the world.
broken to hell and back before the story's over.
Dude, I saved somebody from dying twice. I
Yes.
think.
That fucking healing beam is such a goddamn party
It's
saver.
OP as-
I'm trying to kill you all. Anyway, Max shrugged at Brandon's question. Not a lot, sorry. There used to there used to be a bunch of hunters out and about before everything went to hell. I'm sure there are a few still out there now who are decent people, but there are a few who have been just coming by here demanding supplies. He trailed off and looked reluctant for a moment before adding, and for some reason they want her. He jabbed a thumb at Colgate. No idea why, they seemed to know I had her, and were none too shy about asking about her. He then turned to Dr. G. I like the way you think, Doc. Anyone who wants to bust down that door and clear out any rotters holed up in there will be earning some serious gratitude from me. He finally looked at Rose. If you want a better axe, I got an old woodcutter out behind the cabin. It's sharp enough, heavy enough, and long enough that it should serve as an effective weapon. He then smiles tiredly. And don't worry about not being Batman or anything. I was a cashier at a store that sold cheap crap to out-of-state tourists before this all went down. No shame in not having spent your life preparing for the end of the world.
Yeah. Batman.
G
G-money. G-money. And shouldn't we have a way to keep in touch with those who were leaving? We don't exactly need nor want any more unnecessary casualties, Dr. G pointed out. I recall seeing a box labeled radios in the hall to the left of the kitchen. Perhaps there's some kind of two-way radio system. We could set it up and help keep this unique bunch together, he said, bringing back the box. Holy crap! That's enough radios for each of us, and a few to spare. He looked over at Mac. No doubt your store used to sell these. I take it you borrowed a few from following the disaster. Dr. G began handing out radios. Let's all try to stay on the same frequency. We don't want any accidents. Dr. G turned to Rose. Don't feel like you aren't useful. I assure you, your skills with a knife will come in handy, he said, smiling as he handed her a radio. Alright, everyone. Radio check, radio check. Dr. G spoke into his radio. After hearing replies, he sat back next to Colgate. She stirred a little. It's okay. Rest up. We've got a long journey ahead of us, he said to her softly. Oh, softly. This one is Time Night again, I think.
Oh yeah, this is me. Travis gathered everything he needed on the trip to the city, including the radio Dr. G gave him. He recalled someone asking about skills and thought, what to say. Well, I've been hunting since I was 7, so I know how to handle most guns, and I can track deer if we're ever desperate for food. As for my job, I never got my diploma, so I mostly worked on the farm with my dad. Travis frowned. Till it got overrun by those flesh eaters. Travis felt sick to his stomach saying that, but he quickly toughened up. Anyways, I reckon we need someone to pull the cart. He turned to Applejack. Would you mind helping us out? Applejack smiled. Sure thing, Sugar Plum. I could lend a hoof. Travis nodded and cocked his gun. Well, then let's roll out. Travis and Applejack headed out the door.
Autobots.
Johnny. Transformers reference for chicken. Get that out of the way, but Johnny strapped the radio given to him by the doctor to his belt. After Travis finished his story, Johnny figured he'd go next. Well, before the crisis happened, why did I go next? I was an accountant, which I figure isn't very useful unless the zombies want their income taxes done. Johnny chuckled. As for skills, I was always quite the thief when I was younger, so I know how to be stealthy. I can pick a house lock and basic deadbolts. Johnny reached into his backpack. As for weapons, I played a lot of baseball, so I'm pretty good with blunt weapons and handguns. Johnny pulled out a box of firecracker packs and handed them out among the group. Here, these are in case you need to lure a horde or scare off an unwanted visitor. With that, Johnny walked over to Fluttershy and said his goodbyes. Fluttershy, I want you to stay here with your friends. If you decide you want to go outside, don't go too far from the cabin, alright? Fluttershy nodded and responded with, be safe. With that, Johnny exited the cabin with Travis and Applejack. Rose!
Before you get into Rose, I just love the idea that he's like, petty larceny wasn't really working out for me, so I became an accountant.
Yes.
Oh wow.
Thievery was
There's
bad.
a lot of backstories that we never got to learn.
So yeah, part
I
1
stole
was
it,
introduction,
like,
part
baseball.
2 is all of the backstory. Part 3 is where things actually start happening. Sorry, listeners. We promise you it gets good.
It really does get good, honestly.
It's really good. Very interesting.
We promise. We're not lying. We're not yanking your chain.
Well, I might be because I haven't read it, but Rose was very surprised by how kind everyone was. It really did boost her confidence. She put the radio in her backpack. It was pretty good source of security. Rose had decided to not head out to help with the cart. She and Rainbow would defend the cabin. And after all, there was no doubt in her mind that Rainbow would be more of a burden helping with the cart. Knowing her, she'd get into a fight about something ridiculous with someone. Fighting off zombies was way more her style. One of the other guys was Jonathan. Started heading out with firecrackers. And again, Rose just stuffed it in her backpack. By now, her backpack was full of the most random supplies. There was a half-eaten bag of trail mix, a can of sardines, two water bottles, a broken watch, a withered up old fern leaf, a TV remote, and somehow a Barbie doll. That was only a few things. Rose could go on forever with the useless stuff she had. Rose shook her head. She needed to focus. She didn't want to die or something. Rose walked over to Rainbow Dash, still bragging, but most of the ponies listening walked away to do other things. Her audience consisted of Fluttershy and Rarity. What an amazing audience!
That's my favorite audience right there.
Also, as an interesting fun fact, like the first, I did a little checking after this. We spent the first 2 episodes establishing like 12 characters. After the second episode, like where it cuts off, all of them except for like 5 people leave, and the story from there forward just starts going progressively more quickly because there's a smaller group of people that slowly just start shrinking down. So like a lot of episodes 1 and 2 are fluff as we slowly build up these characters who will then just vanish.
Like my hopes and dreams.
Sorry everybody for the first 2 episodes being really slow because of that. Continue though.
Who were both only half listening. But I really mean, It's pretty cool how I made my way through the streets flooded with the creatures with just a knife. I mean, who else could do that? Rose smiled and snuck up on Rainbow. Oh wow, Rainbow, that's great. Are you going to tell them about how you actually flew over all the zombies and then hid in the alley?
Damn.
You know, the alley I found you in, where you were crying to yourself, Rose talked in a way scolding Mother would. But she was still smiling to herself. Only Rainbow would use the apocalypse as a chance to brag.
It's
Rainbow
also
looked-
worth pointing out that this all took place after season 3, but well before season 4, like right around the end of season 3, before the finale had happened.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like we started this campaign then, so everything is pre-season 3. Sorry,
So, no
end of season 3.
Twilight.
No Alicorn Twilight. no...
Well, it does get brought up once by Derpy, and it kind of is dropped right after that.
Oh yeah, that was.
There was. I was toying with an idea that this being a Derpy from the future or something like that, but I don't know.
Which one
But
was
that
it?
kind of just
Yeah,
that kind of
we'll get to that when
got
we get
dropped.
to that.
Yes.
Continue though.
Rainbow looked up at Rose. Then she started proceeding to laugh, a very fake laugh. Oh, Rose. Oh, you're so funny. Stop telling such funny jokes, eh? Rainbow was wearing a very fake smile on her face. Rose laughed. Fine, only if you stop bragging. It can really get annoying. Anyways, Rainbow, we're gonna stay here protecting the cabin, getting ready or something. We're gonna go outside and check on the perimeter, make sure everything's safe. I'll get you when I'm ready. Rose still smiled, even though the whole situation was pretty serious. She then walked away from Rainbow to let Rainbow get ready and to get supplies she needed herself.
Oh dear God. I'm sorry, throat.
Yes.
I'm so sorry. Duhad. Max stepped into the side room and returned with an axe in one hand and what looked an axe in one hand that looked like a I returned with an axe in one hand and what looked like a toy wooden shield in the other. The shield was painted garishly and looked less like a protective sidearm and more like the sort of thing a man dressed as a knife at a Halloween party might grab if he was in a rush to finish his costume. Max's face went slightly red as he self-consciously fidgeted with the shield. I thought it might help clear out the waters with you. Waters with you girls, and I didn't want to draw any more attention by shooting off a few shells, so, I sort of have something between me and their mouths when I need to get up close and personal. So, he trolled off with a cough. Just lead the way, and I'll be right behind you. The road back to town is clear of trees and easy enough to travel. And even better, you can see any lurking dead before you put your foot down next to the one tangled in the undergrowth. The trees overhead also prevent the odd flying zombie Pegasus from being able to easily spot travelers. On the downside, a few shambling corpses, drawn by the sound of the noise of the cabin, have already wandered onto the road. And while it might just be paranoia, the feeling of being watched while in the open space, flanked on either side by forest, is hard to shake. By the forest is hard to shake.
Time to roll all ones. But no. Cameron
Basically.
the zombie camp. Cameron thought about running to catch up with Octavia, but decided against it and decided to just walk. They had only been walking a few seconds before Cameron let his foot catch something on the ground. Damn it, he thought. As he hit the ground, he was about to call Octavia when he realized that he would only look like more of an ass. He started to shift himself off the ground. A hand reached around his head and held his mouth shut. Dun dun dun. I heard you and that lot all the way from my camp. The shaky voice said, I'll trade you for food with your friends in the cabin. Then I can get those hunters about you in exchange for more food. Cameron could tell that this guy was new to this, but he had a tight grip, and there was no way that he was letting go before he got his food. Octavia looked back to see Cameron was
You see where Cameron was
as she stopped at the cabin's door. But she didn't see anything but brushes. She climbed through to get to the cabin. He probably got too scared to see what's in the cabin. She paused, squinted to see if she could spot him, or maybe he's just gonna watch me to make sure they don't attack me. She turned to knock at the door, only to come face to face with an orange pony and 2 humans.
G-Money. Good idea, Mac, Rose, Rainbow, and possibly Luke, as I recall hearing him yelling about shooting things. Dr. G said as he turned back to his patient. Since Colgate is stable right now, we can leave her right here. Although, yeah, I'm still here.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, I thought yeah, it went weird. Sorry. Since Colgate is stable right now, we can leave her right here. Although it'd be nice to have someone here in case she wakes up. He turned to Fluttershy. I recall Rarity telling me as we were walking, that you were very good with woodland creatures. Tending the Colgate should be very similar. If she wakes up, though... He trailed off. He hadn't really thought this through. He didn't want to be completely useless, and being as it was his idea, he should help clear out the cabin next door. He was good with a machete, but the issue was, what if Colgate got worse, or needed more attention? Rarity interrupted his train of thought. Dr. G, I'll stay with Fluttershy and help watch Colgate. Besides, I don't like getting dirty, and I can help heal minor injuries, Rarity offered. But what if... Dr. G began. Nonsense! This house is a fortified building, and if anything happens, I can teleport you and bring you back straight away, Doc. Besides, we do need that second base, and Fluttershy is great at tending to sick ponies, Rarity said. Then she walked over to the vet and pressed into his side. You've done good, Dr. G. Dr. G instinctively hugged the pony, pressing into his side. He had to admit, Rarity could be a handful at times. And the journey from Florida to Maine was unrealistically done in 2 weeks, had been one riddled with complaints about heat, humidity, cold, and mud. But when it came down to it, Rarity was very generous. She had shared her knowledge, and had used her magic on more than one occasion to protect Dr. G from the rotters. Alright, stay safe. There's the main receiver here by the table. It should allow me to stay in touch with you. Rarity let go and began ushering the doctor towards the door. Dr. G picked up his machete. No use wasting bullets, he thought. Anyone coming next door, or am I Han Soloing it alone? Dr. G asked, the remaining members of the group chuckling a little at his bad pun.
Time night. Brandon and Derpy joined Johnny, Travis, and Applejack outside the cabin.
They were staring at a lone Earth pony wearing a pink bow tie. Brandon found it odd that a pony would come to this specific cabin alone. Excuse me, miss, Brandon asked the mayor. Are you looking for someone?
The zombie cam. Octavia stood, watching as more people were coming out of the cabin. The one who had walked out with Derpy asked, Excuse me, miss, are you looking for someone? Octavia looked back to the forest before realizing who she just saw. Derpy? Octavia said, surprised to see her delivery mare and friend standing in the doorway. Oh, hello, Octavia, she said with a lack of surprise on her face. Are you... Oh, no, I'm sorry, I never got around to delivering your stringy thingy, Derpy said. Cello bowl. I pronounced that bowl, Octavia corrected. Not that it matters anymore, she mumbled angrily, looked at the others. My apologies, I should introduce myself. I am Octavia Melody. Are you out here all alone? Derby's human companion asked. Well, she paused. She didn't know if Cameron would like her giving him away. No, the human I am traveling with is in the woods. She turned to the forest. Cameron! She shouted. These people are trustworthy. An old friend of mine is here. She looked back. They had wary looks on their faces, probably trying to work out. If she was distracting them from something, he's probably back at the tree where we set up. The tree we were set up at. She was scared that they didn't believe her. So, anyway, where are all of you headed? She said, trying to change the subject.
Duhad. Mac watched this conversation on his front steps with mounting curiosity. He crept to the side of one of the cabin's windows and peered out, scanning the forest for any sign of the pony's mysterious friend, but seeing nothing. Still, the hairs on the back of his neck rose as the palpable sense of danger ran shivers down his skin. Meanwhile, a lone zombie stumbled from the trees facing the back of the cabin, the former human led on by the sounds of the ongoing conversation.
Well, Octavia...
No.
Okay, that's time night. Well, Octavia, began Brandon. We were going to retrieve a broken cart from woods to be repaired and used to haul supplies to and from town, but I think finding your friend has become a priority. Suddenly, the sound of crunching leaves was heard, followed by a low moan. Derpy, find somewhere to hide. I'll let you know when it's safe to come out. Why? Asked Derpy. Remember how I said it was dangerous out here? Well, one of those dangerous things is nearby, and I don't want you to get hurt. He said, unholstering his handgun. But I can't. Just hide, hissed Brandon. Fine, I'll go hide, mumbled Derpy as she went off to find a hiding spot.
G money. Well, she doesn't seem to be lying, Dr. G pointed out. I was on my way next door anyways. Hopefully this Cameron didn't get himself infected or killed, he thought. Rarity, stay inside. even though she wasn't going to. Dr. G called out as he exited onto the front steps, joining the scene outside. A distinct crunching of leaves came, followed by a moan. Well, shit. Here comes trouble. He pointed to the source of the noise. A disgusting rotting corpse with pale skin and dark greasy hair. Let's take that sucker out, Dr. G said, brandishing his machete.
Duhad, don't shoot! Matt kissed from the window. Last thing we need is to draw more of those monsters. He watched the tree line, still feeling a tingling sense of something being deeply wrong. And stay low. Something isn't right here.
Okay, timeline. Brandon lowered his gun and leaned up against the cabin. He held his breath as the zombie limped closer. He remained silent all remained silent save for an occasional grunt from the zombie as he shuffled past. The zombie then abruptly stopped in his tracks. It paused for what seemed like an eternity. The longer the zombie lingered, the harder Brandon's heart seemed to beat. Finally, the zombie let out a long moan and continued on his way.
Dr. G heard Mac's advice and dropped down. G-Money. Dr. G heard Mac's advice and dropped down, staying still. Sometimes his feelings got the best of him. He didn't like feeling useless, but there was a fine line between brave and reckless. He recalled Rarity mentioning about Rainbow Dash's recklessness. Don't be stupid. People actually depend on you, Doc. Getting yourself mauled will not help Colgate or anyone else for that matter. Think smarter, not harder. He thought as he pressed himself into the dirt. It was going to be a long night. The creature paused and moaned, its breathing sounding like the rattle of death. Dr. G held his breath as the zombie continued on its way. He had a distinct feeling there was something wrong, but he didn't know exactly what.
Time night. As the zombie slowly disappeared into the woods, Brandon sharply exhaled. Once he was certain the zombie was out of earshot, Derpy called to his companion. Derpy, you okay? Yeah, it's fine. Derpy's voice echoed from a nearby garbage can. Although, I probably should have checked if the trash can was empty. Ugh. Smells like month-old cabbage in here. Well, as long as you're okay, said Brandon, trying not to laugh at his friend's antics. I think something is wrong with this Mac guy, Derpy said. Who throws out a perfectly good banana nut muffin? Alright, you just stay where you are. I have a feeling something worse is on its way.
And unfortunately, as much as that something worse coming is absolutely going to happen, and it's absolutely going to actually add a little bit of action and tension and drama to the story.
Other than the single zombie.
That will have... Yeah, more than the single zombie.
Which
that
I kind of
wait till
just
next time.
wrote
But,
out of existence.
loyal viewers, for those of you who stick around, coming up will be a shootout with psychopathic humans, a battle with a horde of the undead, the introduction of a deeply, deeply conflicting character, and the start of many pieces of crazy drama,
as well
which
as
will
cooking
help
antics.
establish Let's Roleplay as the crazy, wacky game that it is. Trust me, it's slow right now, but it's only slow because that's how all great juggernauts start. And once this juggernaut starts a rolling, it don't stop.
Yep.
So it's gonna be good. Trust us.
Yeah.
Also, swear to God, next video I will be able to talk.
Yeah, we have to say, yeah, cooking antics and everything, something you definitely don't want to miss. Stay tuned, folks.
Also, Metal Gear Derpy Muffin Eater.
Oh yeah. By the way, anyone who's stuck with it this long and has been to the very end, type in the comments section Metal Gear to let me know that you have somehow managed to stick it out this long. Because good on you.
Bye.
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 Bye.